Just a little update on the front garden. The weather today's been cooler, which has been nice, and things are really just starting to fill in. I, of course, still see the blank spots and the gaps and whatnot, but it's been so fun to redo this garden bed and make big changes. Several years ago, if you followed my channel for any amount of time, this bed, it had some similarities, but it was actually also quite different. It had an enormous New Zealand flax that dominated this entire area. So all of that you're seeing now used to be occupied by just one single plant. It was a cool plant, and I loved it, and it was dramatic, and it was strappy, and it was big, and it definitely held that corner. But as you are beginning to tell, I like to grow plants. I like to grow a lot of plants. And so the changes that I've made in my front garden over the last, I don't know, I don't know, is it a year and a half, have really been removing plants that just aren't making me happy anymore, and providing myself with opportunities to grow a lot more plants, a lot of different plants. So on this corner, also a lot of changes in the last year and a half, because I took out that enormous Physocarpus diablo. Super glad that I did, because I don't know, this is my sunniest spot, so it's nice to be able to actually grow a lot of different plants. My back garden is pretty shady, and so I can't grow a lot of these things. I can't grow as many things that are cultivated for flowers. So that's just a sneak little peek of what's going on. I'll show you a couple of vignettes as I go through. And there's lots of things that are still coming, right? So those are daylilies. Things come and go. Like the roses are blooming now. They'll bloom for a while, but then they'll kind of fizzle out, and before they maybe get a second wind later in the summer. The daylilies will come on. This dahlia will gain some steam later in the season. The clematis will, that are weaving through there, different ones, but bloom at different times. Some shrubs are, spring bloomers. This one's coming on. This one I enjoyed for, a long time, but now it's getting to its end. That's a rhododendron medusa. And I'll need to deadhead that at some point, but I don't need to. I will probably want to deadhead it at some point, but that's going to be a big job. So later, mañana. So I'll just do it when I get a chance. And in the meantime, just kind of get ready for the next part of the progression. Here's another clematis. It's going to be blooming soon. There's one that maybe you can see in there that's blooming now. One that's coming on that, which is a pretty big one. It should climb up into that crepe myrtle. Got a couple of martagon lilies that are looking so pretty. They come and go pretty quickly, but they're sure pretty. This is a Rosa Metabilis, grown in kind of a weird way. I'd transplanted it over here, and actually I am in the midst of training it as a standard. So stripping off all the lower, and I'm doing that again because I like to grow plants. So I look for different ways to grow plants where, creative use of space, right? So if I'm using this rose in larger gardens, I let it have its head and occupy the space that it really prefers, which is about 8 feet by 8 feet. But I don't do that so much in my garden, and I like to try and experiment with unconventional pruning techniques and see if I can still continue growing it, but under my terms. just kind of walking through and just giving you some slow looks at some cool plants. I'm working on my plant database where I'm trying to actually get a accurate catalog of all the plants that I'm growing. And it's going to be a pretty big job, and it's going to take me a while. But I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm growing, but it is incomplete. But it's the database that I pull from for my eGardenGo site. So that's one of the reasons that I'm trying to keep it, up to date and keep good notes on all of the plants. All right, well, this seems like a decent place to stop. I hope you enjoyed that really quick and very casual look at the front yard garden. I'll be back soon and try and do some more videos that actually talk a little bit more about the design process, the plants that I'm using, and just really just something just a little bit more thorough. But I didn't want to not do a video just because it wasn't going to be as detailed as I'd like. I figured, it's nice to share the process. So keep in touch. If you like looking at inspiring gardens, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.